Welcome to After Dark from the Den. We are in the studio with BK and the Understanding.
Hey, hey.
So super funny, but we had a conversation just now about how your bass player Graham and your drummer Tim were in the music scene and played with my band, and so I did not recognize them when I first came in, but Graham did, and I think I've recognized Graham mainly from, I guess you're playing with Ben, but it's nice to meet you as well. Yeah. So if you can just introduce yourself and introduce the band and how you met them.
Let's start there. So I'm BK, and BK Understanding it's my project. I had the idea for it when I was finishing up my college degree. I was in a creative writing course. And I always knew I wanted to have a rock band. And I was like, what would be fitting for me? And I'm a huge Tom Petty and Heartbreakers fan, so I kind of wanted that formula. And I liked with the initials BK, I can insert implications of what it stands for. So that came first, but then the rest of the band, as far as that goes, after I graduated college, I taught high school English. And that's where I met Tim Paul Rugg here, this amazing drummer here, who I'm very glad has been drumming with me since 2017. And but he can talk a little bit, but he's played for many bands. But real quick, Graham I know through Tim, and this is his first show with us actually. He's filling in, and him and Tim have an amazing band, or are trying to get their amazing band back together, Backacre. Graham also plays with a fantastic band called The God Awful Truth. But did you guys want to insert anything? So yeah, check out both those projects as well. I mean, obviously, I want you to check out my stuff, but also Backacre and The God Awful Truth. Those are great, all three. Yeah,
awesome.
Really rad.
Well, before we get started, I got to know the story behind your guitar, because that's a really cool guitar.
Thank you very much.
It looks like it has a story.
So here's what's fun to me. I went and saw Sarah Shook and the Disarmers in Fort Worth with my friend, and she was playing the exact same guitar. I thought that was so cool. But I was in Fort Worth one day, and I stopped in. It's called Competition Music, and I just happened to see it, and I didn't know anything about it. I knew I liked Gretsch guitars, so I was instantly drawn to it. And I picked it up, and I knew it was one of their cheaper models. It's basically the Epiphone for Gretsch. It's a streamliner. Mm-hmm. And I saw it on the wall, and I was like, I love it. I picked it up, played it. It was so easy to play, and it's got the double cutaway neck, and I just love it. And so I just stumbled across it. I was like, I got to get it, and I paid with it with my last teacher paycheck after I was exiting teaching. So,
so no longer a teacher.
I'm no longer a teacher, no.
All right, what are you doing these days then?
I am right now, due to the job market, I'm an assistant manager of a big box store that I don't want to say on here. Yeah, to me,
understandable.
Yeah, to me, all the big box stores are the same anyways.
Right, yeah. Well, it's a very cool guitar, and you're right, the double cutaway is a game changer for hollow bodies.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, I love hollow bodies. They're perfect for blues guitar, And the only thing that kind of bothers me about them is that once you get higher up on the neck, it's so hard to navigate playing, Yeah. But very cool. So go ahead and introduce the first song, and we'll get into it.
Okay, this first song again ties into when I was teaching. Wrote it on the back of one of my students' paper that she turned in. I graded. And I just had the idea for it, and I was trying to write something a little more simple and playful, because my songs tend to be more intellectual generally. So, but yeah, this is I Don't Want to Die. Let's make sure we're all plugged in, right? All right, Tim, let us know.
That was really cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, as you were playing, I just kept thinking about how it sounded like a weird cross between like Fugazi, Pavement, and then like early emo, like Superchunk or Promise Ring.
I
Are
love
you
all
familiar
these.
with it? Yeah, you
Keep
like?
going? No.
Okay. No, it's very cool. I know we kind of bonded over Guided by Voices because I was checking out your page,
yes.
and you played that one song, Game of Pricks. It's like my favorite song
yeah.
by them. It's so
And I
good.
posted "I Am a Scientist" as well.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
the one that hooked me. Was "I'm a Scientist."
Yeah, well, like that was that was a very unique time in indie music history. You know, like that band, I think, opened a lot of doors for people to do things after them. You know, very cool. But so that song in particular, you wrote that about a student.
No,
Or,
I wrote it on the back of the student's paper. Has nothing to do with the student.
Oh, you wrote it on you wrote it about the student's paper
No, on
It
the
was
back
just
of it.
on the
on the back of it.
Yeah.
Oh, so you just like came up with the idea
Yeah.
as you were grading papers and like.
It's kind of like J.R.R. Tolkien in The Hobbit. He had the first line pop in his head, and he wrote it on the back of a term paper.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I didn't. Yeah.
just grading a paper and just like, I don't want to die.
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool. Well, have you recorded that song, or are you?
Yes,
in the pro-
everything that. So we have a couple albums up on streaming services, and one that's only in Bandcamp. But all those are do-it-yourself projects in the vein of Guided by Voices. So yeah, we do have that up.
Very cool. So, whenever it comes to releasing music, do you prefer to do it just kind of song by song, or do you have like a concept or like an album in mind?
I prefer albums, but the classic way of like having some singles and some build up to the album. But it's probably because I'm wired to think entire projects and like all the songs pieced together for something.
Yeah, that's me. I'm the same
Yeah.
way. Like I'm a huge album listener.
Yep.
I just if I like one song by a band and it doesn't have an album tied to it, I get mad because it's
Yeah.
like I want to listen to like a whole concept, you know, and so. Because a lot of the time I'll find a song and I'll really like it, and then you go to the album and you're like, wow, there's a better song on this album that's not as popular. I don't know why nobody's listening to this, you know.
Yeah.
So it's cool to finally meet somebody that's like
Yeah, that's how I think.
listens to it the same way.
So the third song we'll play is one off a studio project, and it's a concept album that I wrote. So yeah, I still think that way. And then also like what you're saying with singles, like I'm kind of the same way. If there's not a whole album attached to it, I feel like I'm gonna forget it after I've gone through the excitement of that one song.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And then years later, I'll be like, oh, who sang that song? What album was that attached to? And then I'll have to like spend time trying to remember what it was. But I just connect more with entire albums and stuff, and that's when I connect to a band, is if I like an entire album.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what was the concept for that album, for the song that you?
The studio one, the next song's not from it, but the third song we're kind of previewing it. It's about cultish thinking essentially, but I was inspired by NutriBulk Hotels in an Airplane Over the Sea,
Oh, okay.
where he took the Diary of Anne Frank and then created like a mythology in which he entangles himself, the narrator, and all that stuff. So I kind of did the same thing.
Very cool idea.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, kind of want to talk about just the musicianship
Yeah.
aspect of starting a band and being a band. When did you start playing guitar, and when did you guys start playing your instruments, drums and bass,
We
and
could let them
what
start
what
this
got you involved in music or the idea of being in a band?
Well, Tim, you want to start this
Jack
one
Black
first?
School of Rock.
School of Rock?
Jack Black School of Rock. I don't remember the kid's name. It's not important.
Yeah, that was a very iconic movie. One of my earliest memories is being in like 6th grade and that movie came out, and me and my buddy Dalton Potts, who was just a childhood friend of mine, who we were just complete polar opposites, but whenever you're kids, you're just friends with whoever you're friends with. He was a bull rider. his dad took him hunting and was a cop and like lived a very different life than me. Both of my parents were, very like liberal leaning, and I remember him and his dad asked me to go on this hunting trip with him, and my dad told me I couldn't go. So it's just so funny that like we both kind of bonded over that movie, and I got my first guitar like maybe a year before that movie came out, and I would just like go and take it over to his house and just kind of fiddle around with it. But did you have any kind of like fond memories associated with that movie that you could think of? Like,
I mean, other than just seeing it, it was one of those movies that I remember I wasn't allowed to watch it at first for some reason, because I think it was, they saw the trailer and it was like, oh, there's too many bad words, you can't watch it. And I remember it just being, I think my parents had DirecTV at the time, and it was like one of the watch free over here, and I just watched it. And I do want to preface, I was also listening to music before that, but
yeah, no, I was too. I mean, my dad's a musician, so I remember growing up, and my dad was a huge Counting Crows fan. I would just like listen to Counting Crows in the car with him all the time.
It was like I saw that movie and I wanted to bang on pots in the house, but then like later on it was like, okay, now listening to Rush and Led Zeppelin, and then later on like Under Oath and Block Party.
That's
all
a good band.
Their drummers, Matt Tong. Just people that hit the drums really loud and hard.
Yes.
What about you? What got you into playing
Well, I was
guitar?
gonna see if Graham wanted to say.
Yeah,
real
yeah,
quick,
Graham.
And then I can follow up.
Okay.
Hello. No, I started. So, where did I start? I mean, church. Really, that's kind of the big one. Grew up. My grandparents my grandmother played piano at our church forever, and my grandfather's been a pastor for like forever. So that's kind of where I got my start.
I feel like a lot of people start there
That's
too.
and BK and I share that, and we've talked about that quite a bit, just like being in church and playing, and that's kind of how I learned the ropes. And then from there, I kind of I got into like my first metal band when I was like 16,
Wow.
and then I just I've been doing that ever since, pretty much. But yeah, I've been playing for. God, how old am I? 17 years. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. So like Graham said, I also got started performing in the church. And when I was a teenager, I would play guitar all the time, but I was terrified of singing in front of people. And I'd gotten really involved in the church. I grew up, my parents were Southern Baptists, so I grew up in a church. And so I'd wandered into a non-denominational church. And they were starting a youth group, and they needed somebody to do it. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to work through my fears. So that's where I got started, too. And then the lead musician, so I would also play with, the Sunday church bands. He was a jazz musician from Tarleton State, because I lived in Stephenville growing up.
Oh, wow.
So, he's old enough that he remembers, he had the choice of going to UNT's jazz band, but the professor at Tarleton talked him into going to that program, because apparently Tarleton's was pretty good too. UNT's has always been great, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he was a jazz musician, so I absorbed as much as I could about music theory and stuff from him, because I had no background in music education. I was a literature guy. I loved to write, and I was passionate about consuming and listening to music, and I would try to learn my favorite songs, and so that's kind of where I started those, performing in churches and stuff. So.
Very cool. Well, go ahead and introduce the next song, and we'll get into it.
Get my little pick back out. Oh, wrong one. That's my backup pick there. This is Ivan the Terrible. This is the first song. So like I said, I started performing when I was a church musician. So a lot of the early stuff that we have out I was still doing some church music full time. And so a lot of those songs kind of reflect inspirational themes. because I was still a church musician, so I couldn't just like write really dark songs because I was still very involved in that church, and I was like, it's just awkward. So a lot of that stuff is reflective of it. But I Am the Terrible is the name of the song, and this was inspired by a confrontation I had with a person where he accused me of flirting with his girlfriend, in which I knew him through his girlfriend, which is ironic. And anyway, it was the first song I wrote out of anger, and I allowed myself to capture the feeling of anger out of. Like, I permitted myself, like, no, there doesn't have to be a happy ending to this song. I'm just going to let out all my feelings. And this is the first song I let myself do that on.
Very nice.
Songs, they sound the same. Call one-trick pony. All your songs, they sound the same. Call me when you're not so terrible. You've received a new name. All your songs, they sound the same. All your songs, they sound the same. All your songs, they sound the same. I'm the terrible righteous one-trick pony. I'm the terrible righteous one-trick pony.
Cool. I really like the name of that song.
Yeah?
My degree's in history, so like as soon as you told me like what the song was about, I was like, that makes sense.
Yep. Absolutely. And I
Good
do need to
compelling.
apologize on camera to Graham. When we were talking, I put this up a whole step higher than he'd been practicing it.
Uh-oh.
And that's just how great he is. He recovered very quickly, and I did not mean to do that to you. I'm sorry. And the whole time I was like, oh, dang it, I did that to him. And then I was like, I made a couple of fumbles as a result, because I was like, oh, dang it. It's because I was talking, and then I was like trying to get it in the right spot, and then because it's a double cutaway, I went a little too high.
Oh.
But yeah, sorry about that, Grant.
Excuses,
You did
excuses.
great. You did fantastic.
Very nice. Well, while you guys were playing, I was thinking about this question for you. Do you have like a particular method for writing songs, or does it just kind of happen sporadically in different ways?
I mean, there has been a mixture, but the basic way I do it is, I guess, what I would imagine Dylan would have done, Bob Dylan. To me, and it starts with poetry, or like prose, or if it's a story, like which the next song's a part of. I imagine that story, and then I focus on characters or settings, and I let the songs focus on those things. So to me, because my background is in literature and writing and stuff, that's where I begin typically. On occasion, it'll go the other way around. On 2 occasions, I had kind of like epiphany songs, like they just kind of came. Those are amazing when they happen, but that's pretty rare. Usually there's more work involved. But yeah, the general, and even though Tim's been playing with 2017, when we first were playing together, I was still living in my hometown, and he'd moved up to Grand Prairie and then Arlington. And so we were like an hour and a half apart. So he was learning stuff I was writing on my own. We weren't doing any collaboration. We're hoping to start doing that more.
Plus, I had kids, so it was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's in general, it starts with me having an idea and writing, or in the case of Ivan the Terrible, capturing an event and getting my emotions out. And I know no matter how harsh my criticism may be of whatever inspired it, it's really about capturing how I felt. And I'm aware of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's very important to make sure that there's some kind of genuine aspect to it. So
Yeah.
that's cool. That's very different than I feel like most people write music. I feel like most people just kind of explore the musical landscape first. But it makes sense if, you've always been a very literary person, if the word play and the aspect of a story is the first thing you think of. So
Absolutely.
very interesting. So do you have experience playing these songs live? Have you played these live before? Do you play live often?
Yeah, so actually, most of the stuff I've gotten over the years since, launching Begin the Sting, most of them have been acoustic shows. Because I was still in Stephenville, and that's a red dirt country area, and then some of them will say they're Americana, and a couple are, but like it's a red dirt scene, and I wasn't doing that. So my compromise was I'd do acoustic music at the local coffee shops, or I had a friend that launched the first black-owned outfitters store, Slim Pickens Outfitters, and he would have me put on regular music events, and so I would do that stuff. And then I'm very active in the Fort Worth songwriter scene, so I get a lot of solo stuff there. But in the past few months, things are finally picking up with the band, and we've had more shows. And Tim's been to almost everyone. He missed one show, he's been there. And then we've had Adam Barnes that's been playing with us, and Graham's filling with him for him. But yeah, it's been nice because it's way more fun for me to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure that in your, the concept you have in your mind comes to life whenever it's
absolutely
a full band.
And they put their own touches on it, and I love that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that everybody has their, particular way of playing that's very unique to them,
I got the touch.
But yeah, okay, that's cool. Are there before we get into the last song? It's the last song, right?
We have two more actually, because we were told 4.
Yeah, that's right. Oh,
you
that
getting
was
tired
only the
of us
second
already?
time? Oh wow, I'm just having fun, guys. Before we get into the next song, then, do you have any specific artists that you think inspired this project specifically?
Well, I mentioned, I think early on, Tom Petty and Heartbreakers inspired the name, and I feel like I relate, even though we don't do the same style of rock he did. I listen to him regularly, and I feel like I relate to him in the fact that he also just picked up a guitar and wanted to play, and he was probably the least capable in the band, but he was writing great songs and was a great singer and got better by playing with people that were better than him. I feel the same way playing with these guys. Like, I'm glad I want to surround myself with people who are better musicians than me because it makes me better. And so I relate to that. But as far as the sound, probably Weezer's a huge influence. And then bands like Nirvana, Soundgarden, which we haven't done much that reflects Soundgarden because they do a lot of alternate tunings. Neutral Milk Hotel, Pedro the Lion, a lot of 90s bands, actually. That's where, because when I got involved with church music, I was only listening to worship music, so I missed out on a lot of good stuff. So I was always spending my time learning worship songs. So really, the 90s and early 2000s really stuck.
Very cool.
So
my best friend is a huge Pedro the Lion fan. So
I am too.
Yeah.
So I do real quick. I do a Twitch stream on every Sunday night, and I have other songwriters join me. And 2 weeks ago, I had Sonny Velato. Yeah, I may have said that wrong. Anyway, he's from the Pacific Northwest. He was in the Seattle scene for like 3 decades, and he was like, "I'm friends with Dave Bazan."
Wow,
And
that's
I'm like,
cool.
Let's go hang out.
That's really cool.
So yeah, but yeah, it was really cool to have him on.
Well, go ahead and introduce the next song. Okay. We'll get into it.
Okay, this next song is called AI and the Supercomputers. This is about 2 antagonists confronting one another, battling for power. Shit happens in mid-epileptic disorders. Watch 2 psychopaths trying to influence one another. It's like a match between 2 titans, Godzilla and King Kong, with the lizard brain and the primate man. Like the big people in cold Sodom, most never realize they join one. Believe it or not, some of these people may be geniuses, not just Hallis screaming to make up for small penises. stark contrast what you may think. Even well-intended psychopaths never causes me. Heartless man built with his clever hands. Mechanical man encased in a tin can. Put his brawn to electrical chips. That compute is sharp as really sharp whips. Sister Stone. In the cave, one for pseudoscience, the other for calculating non-compliance. And one could only crunch the numbers, while the last was repurposed with Duolingo parameters. CBBC's brought Dharma to the gyms, reminding them they're unevolved wimps. It's the ace preferred exertion to studies. Gave them time to play grab ass with the bug. But the AL's been done with CBCs, knowing how much fun this is. And the shadow he obsessed for years on end, so he found the perfect opportunity to descend. Who'd been waiting up above? The only back door. For every lost ship that could not endure. Count on the weaknesses and know where to attack. He could ask me out and told him where they're at. Synesthesia like a malware virus, with emojis of feces and porno just as friend tires. And the damage is done like the terrorism of 9/11. There's no going back, no one's seeing this one. The dragon's commode was never the same as that. I'm sorry, I meant the dragon's abode. I just stepped on a cat. So let's say before this disrupting screech that a feral feline looks to touch on a rocky beach. Then he began to wake up to see reality, to see the light outside the cave's tonality. It's as if the two antagonists had canceled each other. The wrestling slowly revealing vultures. Who's been waiting up above? The only back door. For every lost ship that could not endure. Through the excruciating pain of cognitive dissonance.
that song again?
AI and the Supercomputers.
AI and the Supercomputers.
Yeah.
Very, very good song title for the concept.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to do Ultron and the Supercomputers, but I was like, I don't want to have a battle with Marvel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which is going to be ironic when you hear the name of the next song. I'm not as worried about that one, though.
That's funny. So, what are the next plans for the band after today? What are you working on?
I've been talking to Tim, and I'm hoping we can resume finishing up the studio project songs and like one at a time, and then having them mixed. So we've got a friend of mine in Fort Worth that does a lot of the Fort Worth musicians I run around. He records and mixes their music. His name's Peter Wieringa. He used to play with a band called Siberian Traps, and now he drums for Denver Williams and the Gas Money.
Oh wow! I remember Siberian Traps. They were
they're phenomenal.
They were huge in the scene from like 2012 to like 2019, really close to whenever the pandemic happened.
That's when they went on hiatus. During the pandemic.
Wow, that's so cool. I had not heard anybody talk about them for a long time.
They're fantastic.
Yeah. So, how did you get acquainted with him?
So, funny enough, when I was still living in Steamboat, I'm a huge coffee dude, which makes sense. I was a church musician, right? So instead of like drinking and drugs, they're addicted to caffeine, right? They got to keep all pepped up so they can be happy at church or whatever. Sit through the sermon. But so I would always come up to Fort Worth to get out of town, and I loved Fort Worth and Waco because of where I grew up. Those both feel like home to me, even though I never literally lived in those city limits. But I would always go to Kraftwerk Coffee in Fort Worth, and my favorite barista was Dana Berger, and that's Pete's girlfriend.
Oh.
And I would talk to her about my music projects, and she'd be like, you got to meet my boyfriend. He's got his own studio, yada, yada, yada. And she'd really talk up her boyfriend. And then she's like, yeah, he's into Siberian Traps. So I went to Doc's Records, which is on the part of Fort Worth, bought their records. I was like, dude, these guys are great. And so that's how I met Pete, as she eventually did, in fact, introduce me to Pete.
Very cool. Yeah, they used to be on KXT like all the time.
They're great, man.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, that sounds like you guys have a great team around you, working with you. So I'm really excited to hear what you guys release soon. But last question.
Okay.
And this one's for Tim.
Yes.
What's your go-to at Buc-ee's? What do you get every time you go to Buc-ee's? You wore the shirt, so we got to know.
Okay, so obviously, the candy pecans. I also like the candy cashews. My wife doesn't like those as much. If it's breakfast, I always get the brisket egg taco, except it got more expensive. What the heck's that about? The tortilla wrapped sausage is also a go-to. They had a decent chicken sandwich. I don't recommend getting it at night because it'll be less fresh. But what else do they got? They have a really good Rice Krispie treat. Everyone knows the beaver nuggets.
They have a Rice Krispie treat?
Yeah, like it's like the fruity rice, like Fruity Pebbles.
Oh, wow.
Actually, fun fact,
I did not know
apparently
that.
Costco is trying to open gas station stores to compete with Buc-ee's.
Oh, no.
This
is going to be crazy.
It's
This is going to be crazy.
corporations, bro.
Have you seen that Key and Peele skit where they wear these ridiculous hats and have like all the stickers on them, and it just gets like more. That's what it's gonna be like. It's gonna be like that all over Texas now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's funny. All right, well, go ahead and introduce the last song and take us out.
So this is what's funny about this last song is I'm hoping we're in tune here, but it's named after my favorite Dr. Seuss story. But it's not about it, so I'm hoping that won't be an issue. But I did name it after my favorite Dr. Seuss story, and it's called The Lifted Lorax. That's my favorite, and hits deep. I feel with that one. But I imagine myself, I wrote this song before I launched Beacon Standing. It's from 2010 when I was still in college, and I had the ideas like, well, if I were a Lorax and I was about to ascend to the heavens, what would my final message be to mankind? And that's what this song is. And we love to close with it.
Cool.
Okay, there we go. There we go. lifetime abiding, a lifetime awaiting, a lifetime of fighting, a lifetime of fading, lifetime abiding, a lifetime awaiting, lifetime of fighting, a lifetime of fading. Sat in the easy chair, stood from the pulpit, I've seen what is done from there, I know who's the culprit. And all my days with all the strays, with all I've seen and all that's been, and all my wisdom I've come to know. For everything that is dead falls some overhead mile, that which lives continues to grow. I sin as a keeper, I came as a guardian. At times I was a weeper, another's a historian. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. The times seem to change, but it's merely a game, and corruption is stranging. It's always the same. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. Strays with all I've seen and all that's fair. It's all my wisdom I've come to know. Everything that is dead falls from overhead wide, that which lives continues to grow. So my days with all the strays, with all I've seen and all that's fair, it's all my wisdom I come to know. things worth keeping are things unseen, and they're not found sleeping. You must work to keep them. Don't believe in death, all he is light. Keep your hope and faith and look to the sky. With all my days with amongst the strays, with all I've seen and all that's been, and all my wisdom I've come to know. Everything that is dead falls from overhead, while that which lives continues to grow.
Thanks for watching After Dark from the Den. This was BK and the Understanding.
Grazie.